Back in the summer of 2019, I was working as a solo night shift technician for a small regional ISP. My job mostly consisted of driving out to remote cell towers and server huts tucked away along rural backroads to handle routine maintenance and reset tripped breakers. Around 1:30 a.m. on a humid Thursday night, I got a dispatch to check a service hut about 40 minutes outside of town. The location was deep in a heavily wooded area, situated at the end of a long, unpaved gravel road that hadn't seen fresh gravel in decades. When I pulled up in my company van, the site was pitch black except for my headlights. The server hut was just a small, windowless concrete block building surrounded by a 10-foot chain-link fence with a padlocked gate. I unlocked the gate, drove the van inside the compound, and locked the gate behind me, a standard safety protocol when working alone in remote areas. I unlocked the heavy steel door to the hut, went inside, and got to work. Inside, it was loud due to the humming server racks and freezing cold from the industrial AC unit. I had my noise-canceling headphones on with the volume low while I ran diagnostics on my laptop. About 30 minutes in, I felt a faint vibration through the concrete floor. It wasn't uncommon for heavy machinery or trucks on a nearby highway to cause small vibrations, but the nearest paved road was over 2 miles away. I took off my headphones and listened. Over the hum of the cooling fans, I heard a dull, rhythmic thud, thud, thud coming from outside. It sounded like something heavy striking the concrete exterior wall of the hut. I grabbed my heavy-duty Maglite flashlight and walked slowly toward the heavy steel door. I cracked it open just an inch to peer outside into the dark compound. What I saw made my blood freeze. It was a man standing in the dark right next to my work van. He was wearing dirty work coveralls, but his head was entirely covered by a crude burlap sack with 2 uneven eye holes cut into it. In his hand, he was holding a full-sized crowbar, and he was casually striking the side of my van with it. Thud, thud. Then he stopped. He didn't turn his body, but his head slowly snapped toward the slightly open door of the server hut. He knew I was looking at him. I slammed the steel door shut, threw the heavy deadbolt, and backed away. My heart was hammering against my chest. I pulled out my phone to call 911, but as fate would have it in a rural dead zone, I had 0 bars of reception. The server hut's landline was purely for data diagnostics. I couldn't make outgoing voice calls. A second later, the outer door shook violently as he slammed the crowbar against the metal. He didn't scream or yell. He just kept rhythmically striking the door. Clang, clang, clang. I knew the steel door would hold for a while, but the real issue was that I was completely trapped. The hut had no back exit, no windows, and no cell service. After about 5 agonizing minutes, the banging suddenly stopped. The silence inside the small concrete room was suffocating. I waited, crouched behind a server rack with a heavy spanner wrench tightly in my hand, staring at the door handle. 10 minutes went by, then 20. Eventually, I heard the unmistakable sound of a gravel-crunching engine revving up and speeding away down the dirt road. I forced myself to wait another half an hour before I dared to unlock the door. When I stepped out into the humid night air, the compound was empty. My work van's driver's side window had been smashed out, but the detail that made my stomach turn was on the dust of the hood. Someone had used a gloved finger to write a single word in the grime. Next. When I finally drove back into cell range and called the police, they dispatched a cruiser to search the area, but they found no trace of the man or his vehicle. I handed in my resignation to the ISP 2 days later. I never found out who that man was or how long he had been following my route. But to this day, I refuse to take any job that requires me to be alone in the dark.
Double tap if your chest just tightened. Share this with someone who loves scary stories, and hit that follow button right now so you never miss another midnight nightmare.